Welcome to Ed Fluential Sports, where passion meets precision. As I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. Make sure y'all leave a like, comment, subscribe. The reason why I'm laughing is because Jay Uso, he posted on his IG story. He said that he plans on winning the Royal Rumble again. He said that he's going to win the Royal Rumble back to back. And he spelled it WHEN instead of WIN. I can't stop thinking about that. I'm gonna do my Rumble predictions later in the in the podcast, but that's so funny to me. But obviously, as you know, for Thursdays, we always start with the AEW stuff. So AEW Dynamite made some shorts earlier. What did I give Dynamite this week? I think I gave it 8 out of 10. Yeah, I gave it 8 out of 10. It's been a really good month for Dynamite. What's good? What's good, D Money? Just talking about Dynamite right now. It's been a really good month for AEW once again. After strong 2025, starting 2026 off on a good note. So I'm enjoying what they're doing with with Kenny Omega specifically, with Kenny, Hangman, Swerve, Andrade, with them all being in the title picture. I'm liking that. Kenny had there was like a 5-minute match versus Rocky Romero. I knew Kenny was going to get the win because that led into the promo that they end up having after. So I like that there's multiple people in the world title picture. Not a fan of the Brody King feud. I talked about that earlier, but not rocking with the Brody King feud. But you do have other guys in that. Like I said, Kenny Omega, Hangman, Swerve, Andrade, they all after the title now. I kind of wish Hangman didn't win the trios titles with Jet Speed, because they ain't even focused on the trios titles. They did that to get off the ops since Hobbs ended up leaving, and he's likely going to debut at the Royal Rumble. I see that happening, but I feel like he could have gave it to somebody else. If Hangman, his main goal is still to get the World Championship, he don't need to be trios champion. Like, I don't get the point of that. But I'm gonna come back to that later, since Swerve and Andrade was in the main event. But you had Moxley. He defeated Ace Austin. That was a cool match. Yeah, that feud, I don't like it. MJF been cooking them every week, so it's like, how am I supposed to get invested if Brody King can't say nothing of value? MJF has been cooking them. But John Moxley, he had an eliminator match with Ace Austin. Cool match. Knew Moxley was going to win because it's not really a story there. But after the match, like, it was a good match. After that, that's when Takeshita came out. Because I'm pretty sure Takeshita, he beat Moxley in the Continental Classic. And obviously, the Continental Classic is a point system. So Takeshita, he wants his rematch. Don't know when he's going to get it, but that could be a good match for Revolution if they want to build onto that. Davis and Doyle, they attacked John Moxley after that match. So that was like, he did attack Moxley after the match. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird because Takeshita was right there. He could have did something, but Takeshita just kept it moving and allowed Davis and Doyle to attack him. Don Callis, I think there's too, like, Don Callis, he's a great promo. He's a good manager, but there's too many guys in this group. You had a segment with Okada apologizing to Cal Fletcher, and then that led into the segment later where Takeshita was talking to Cal Fletcher and how Don Callis brought up how he accepted the apology. And then Takeshita, he started looking at Cal Fletcher weird, like, why would you accept that apology from Okada? So that's whole, I mean, it's entertaining though. So that part, those three of the Don Callis family I'm rocking with, and Andrade, those four. Obviously, it's a story with Okada, Takeshita, and Cal Fletcher. Then Andrade, he's doing his own thing. The Don Callis family got to break up at some point. It's already too many of them, but it's it's too many people in the Don Callis family. We've known that for a minute now. But the main focus of the Don Callis family is Okada, Takeshita, Cal Fletcher, and Andrade. Like I said, Andrade, he's in the world title picture. Okada, Fletcher, and Takeshita, even though they all trying to do different stuff, I feel like you could still lead to a triple threat with them three at Revolution that's coming up. That will be for the what championship? The championship that Okada still has. I forget which one it is because it's not the Continental Championship. So whatever that title is, they could fight for that. And then at All In, you could do Okada versus Takeshita again, because people wanted that. They did get it, but I feel like they're gonna have another one-on-one match at some point this year. The Young Bucks, they said they're returning next week. I didn't realize they were gone. It didn't seem like they had been gone, to be honest. but the Young Bucks, they put the entire tag team division on notice. So they'll be back in the tag title picture. I want to see them versus FTR. They got to do that. They're the two best teams, probably the two best teams in AEW history. Just thinking about it, yeah, it probably is between FTR and the Young Bucks. So them having a program for the titles would be cool. I think they might have did some stuff recently before the title picture, but the Young Bucks and FTR, that's definitely a match that I would be invested in. You can do that and maybe Grand Slam. Well, maybe that'll be too soon because that's coming up in like mid-February. But something post Grand Slam featuring the Young Bucks and FTR, or you can start it at Grand Slam between those two. But they'll probably face Oliver and Price since that's a new jobber tag team in town for AEW. We'll see what happens. But the Young Bucks, they put the tag division on notice. Kenny is going after the World Championship. I thought the Elite was going to come back together, Kenny and the Young Bucks, and Hangman. I thought they would have did something. Well, not Hangman, because he was already made it clear he won the world title. But I thought the Elite would have came back together and went after the trios titles. But that's not the plan with that, because the Young Bucks are going after the tag titles. The Kenny is going after the world titles. So we'll see what that leads to. Then you had Andrade defeated. I don't know why I put MJF in my notes. That was Swerve. Well, my notebook I had. It was because it was all in the same segment, so I got some of the names confused. But Andrade defeated Swerve in the main event. Really good match. Andrade cheated. He's the heel, so he did what he's supposed to do. He pulled Aubrey Edwards, the referee. He had pulled her to get her distracted and confuse her. That way he could low blow Swerve in the match, and he picked up the win. So it keeps both of them looking strong. It was a really good match. Andrade used underhanded tactics as a calculated heel to win the match. And now next week, Andrade has a match against Swerve. No, not against Swerve. Swerve. He has a match against Kenny Omega. And whoever wins that will be facing MJF at Grand Slam for the title. Assuming that, because MJF has an eliminator match next week versus MJF got an eliminator match next week versus Brody King, which I'm not excited about. Like I said, don't think Brody King has done anything to earn that shot to even get an eliminators match. But man, I don't think he's gonna win it. I think MJF will win. They'll keep it moving. Like I don't see no point in keeping this feud going when you got 4 other guys in the main event scene. Like having Brody King in the main event scene isn't bad, but he should be doing the stuff that Kenny Omega and Hangman and Swerve and Andrade got to do. Like Swerve and Andrade fighting each other when they're both in the world title scene. Why not do Brody King versus Kenny Omega? Give Kenny Omega a match as well. Because why is he just immediately in the number 1 contention? Just because he said he's after the title? Like he hasn't had many significant moments to start this year yet. So why not have Ken? Like he's had some cool matches, like Josh Alexander match. Actually, that is significant because that was a really good match. That was a great win for Kenny Omega. Brody King don't even have that. So why not do Brody King versus Kenny? Yes, they're both faces, but at the end of the day, they've all made it clear that they want the title. Yes, I know he's getting revenge for Bandito, but it needs to be more to that. Like he's just beating jobbers. I think he beat my 8th grade principal not too long ago. He beat MJF's translator. So it's like, yes, it's a story there, but he needs to be somebody of significance. Like if he was in a match with Kenny Omega and they let him get the win, I would be like, okay, I can accept the match. Just like the promos haven't been good from Brody King. It's been like, well, I have friends, you don't. Okay, if I'm MJF, I'm a 2-time world champion, and I held a gold in CMLL, and I'm also a tag champion, something you were as well. So what are we really talking about here? And I think MJF lost the tag title because of injury and storyline, while Brody King and Bandito just lost. So it is what it is. But yeah, Dynamite, like I said, I give it an 8 out of 10. It was a good show. It was a few things. It was like, okay, you could say that or just not did it at all. But that presentation for Tommaso Ciampa was cold. I'm glad to see him in AEW begin the title match. Mark Briscoe putting on some solid matches. Moxley's match was solid. So it was a lot of good stuff. The beginning of the show wasn't great. The match was cool. Kenny got the win. The promo, it was like just who has more respect for each other. So then Swerve had to come out there and shut all that down. But like I said, I give Dynamite an 8 out of 10. It was another good show. This has been another good month for AEW. Excited to see what Collision is going to be like on Saturday, especially with Ciampa getting the TNT title shot. I don't know if he's going to win it, but I'm going to definitely have a review of that match out that following morning on Sunday. But with that being, wow, the generals, wow, okay. Um, as you see, there's four NFL players in the thumbnail: Drake May, Matthew Stafford, JSN, CMC. Those are the four guys I have in my MVP race who I think. Now, obviously, the NFL announced theirs. They have Trevor Lawrence, they have Josh Allen, they got CMC, Stafford, and May in theirs as well. I think they got JSN, Offensive Player of the Year. But in my opinion, these are the four guys who should be in the MVP race. And I'm gonna just, well, this is my personal MVP race and who I think and who I will pick for MVP. But I got Drake May up there, of course. The Pats went 14-3 this season. Had one of the best turnarounds. They won only 4 games last year. They were 4-13. So Drake May led them to a 14-3 record. Had a 72 completion percentage, which led the league. Had 4,394 passing yards, 31 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And he also had a 450 rushing yards for 4 rushing touchdowns. A lot of people can say what they want about people can say what they want about the Patriots, easy schedule this, easy schedule that. But at the end of the day, Drake May is the one that put them in position to win these games. Drake May put them in position to be the second seed in the AFC, while their defense has kept them in the playoffs. It's kept them in the playoffs and got them to the Super Bowl. Drake May, he led them in the regular season to get them to a 14-win season, their best season since 2020, I think. Well, 2022, I think. They went to the playoffs with Mac Jones. So best season since that, but most successful since, because that was Brady's last year, and they lost to the Titans. But yeah, so Drake May's had a really good season. Matthew Stafford is in the Stafford for me. I had to put him in the race as well. But he's producing at his age. He's 37. I don't think many other quarterbacks can do that. We've seen guys like Rodgers and guys like Brady be able to do it, but it's still not everybody is capable of doing that. Like we've seen how Eli crumbled his last few years. We've seen how Aaron Rodgers, even now, the age is catching up to him. But Aaron Rodgers, just a few years ago, his last few years in Green Bay, before that season, he went 8-9. He was in MVP contention before that. So, but Stafford, he led the Rams to a 12-5 record, and that's only got them the 5th seed in the NFC. You know how crazy it is to win 12 games and only be the 5th seed, a 65 completion percentage, a 4,707 yards, 46 passing touchdowns at the age of 37, only 8 interceptions. He had 1 rushing yard on the season. That's funny. He only took 23 sacks, but he had 1 rushing yard on the entire season. Oh, that's funny to me. He said Drake or Allen. I don't have I don't have Josh Allen in my race because I only have 4 players, and I'm gonna explain that. I got Drake May and Stafford in the race. The other 2 I have skill position players because I feel like MVP should not just be since 2012, which was the last time a non-quarterback won it. I feel like the MVP is not just about who's the best quarterback in the league. If you want a separate award, cool. But I feel like the MVP it stands for most valuable player. So the most valuable player, I don't feel like that's a quarterback every year. The quarterback is the most important piece. Quarterbacks, they have to put points on the board. But at the end of the day, some teams can just win based off their defense. We've seen it with the Broncos. Bo Nix stepped up, but they wouldn't be a first seed without that defense. The Patriots, Drake May led them to the first seed, but throughout the playoffs, the defense has led them to the Super Bowl. So in my personal opinion, I don't put quarterbacks in every spot I have each race because I feel like the other positions still deserve love too. Because it's like, yeah, you got Defensive Player of the Year, which Myles Garrett might win despite winning 5 games on the season. So that's why wins and losses is not an individual stat, especially if Myles Garrett gets DPOY. If Nick Bonito gets it, I would be happy because the Broncos were the first seed. So Nick Bonito would be cool, but Myles Garrett might get it. But back to MVP, I have okay. I do have JSN in the MVP race. And the reason I have him there is because the Seahawks were 14-3 this season. They were the first seed in the NFC. He had 1,793 receiving yards, leading the league with 119 catches, 10 receiving touchdowns, and averaged 105 yards per game, which was a career high. And it's third year in the league, 73 catch percentage. And the reason why I say JSN, because he might not get the love because he's a receiver, but Sam Darnold, and no disrespect to him, because I'm going to talk about Sam Darnold a little bit later in this podcast episode. What JSN did, he made the Raiders about a bait of what Geno Smith did last year. If Geno Smith doesn't have JSN, he doesn't get that deal with the Raiders, and the Raiders don't look this bad. So he sold them a dream, and then Sam Darnold, he's improved over the last few years. I can't deny that. But JSN doing what he's been able to do, the Seahawks aren't in a position without him. Without his separation, without him getting over 100 yards per game on a consistent basis, when they needed him to step up, he was able to do it, and he helped lead them to the first seed. Like Darnold, he still had to throw the ball, still had to put him in the right position. The defense won them a few games. But like I said, it comes down to all three sides of the ball. That's why I can't put a quarterback in every spot in my MVP race, because I only do 4 spots. But I can't put a quarterback in each spot because they don't feel fair to the other players. Then the last player I have, this one might be shocking, but I do have Christian McCaffrey in the MVP race as well. A lot of people didn't understand why they put him there. The 49ers went 12-5. There were 6 in the NFC with 12 wins. Kyle Shanahan did a phenomenal job coaching, but they had so many injuries to their team in general, and they beat my Eagles in the playoffs, so I'm not even mad. But that was, at least we fired our offensive coordinator. But what CMC was able to do, he carried this team. Even Brock Purdy was out for a few games, and Mac Jones had to play, which goes to the coaching of Kyle Shanahan as well. But CMC led the team in total touchdowns, led them in receiving yards, and led them in rushing yards. He had 1,202 yards rushing and 10 rushing touchdowns, while also having 102 catches for 924 yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. He had over 2,000 total yards and 17 total touchdowns. So a lot of people didn't understand why the NFL put him in the MVP race. He should be there. This 49ers team doesn't do this without the sacrifices of the team. Like, everybody would sacrifice for CMC to stay healthy and get them to the playoffs. Like, they had injuries everywhere. I think they were the most injured team, if not one of the most injured. So I have CMC in the race as well. But I think, ironically, I got 3 people from the NFC West. So the NFC West had a great year, aside from the Cardinals. Shout out Marvin Harrison, I guess. But I think, but when it comes down to who out of these 4 players I would pick, when it comes to Drake May, Matthew Stafford, JSN, CMC, who I would pick, I'm gonna narrow it down like this. I think I would go with JSN personally. I think the reason why I wouldn't give it to May is because when it comes down to May and Stafford and May had the same amount of interceptions, and Stafford had 15 more touchdowns, 15 more passing touchdowns. So now Drake May did lead the league in completion percentage, which is impressive, but Stafford having 15 more passing touchdowns is insane as well. Like I said, CMC, he did have to carry that team, and especially for a running back to have almost 1,000 yards rushing and receiving, like, it was some sacrifice on that team. He had over 2,000 total yards, but they did only finish 6th. And then the last week that they needed him the most in that Seahawks game, he disappeared there, unfortunately. Even despite the great season that CMC had, that was the most important game where they needed him. And it's not just a him thing, it's a team effort, but I feel like they needed him the most, and the Seahawks defense did a great job. And then Stafford, like I said, his completion percentage is 7% less than Drake May's, which is kind of crazy. But he did have he had 4.7K yards and 46 touchdowns. But JSN, he led the league in receiving yards, and he had a career high 105 yards per game. So, and they were the first seed, so that's definitely a benefit of being on the best team, being the best receiver in the league. So for me, out of the candidates I named, I'm going with JSN for my MVP pick for the 2025-26 NFL season. Let me know who y'all got for MVP. I think there's a lot of great candidates. Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, that was in there as well. Obviously, it's a regular season award, so we can ignore playoffs. I seen this earlier. No. But with that being said, we're going to move into I almost have to rumble predictions, but before I get to that, I'm gonna talk about this is ice cold. So for those that watch Unrivaled, the women's basketball league, which is super fun to watch, and I'm glad that they have this. It's a 3-on-3 league. I'm super happy they had this because the WNBA still hasn't came to an agreement on a new CBA deal. So if it is a lockout next season, at least I have this for now. At least I have Unrivaled and college and women's college basketball. But ice cold, the Lunar Owls, they're the worst team in our rival. They're 1-6, eighth in the league, so last overall. One of the biggest problems is that Nafisa Collier is still out with an injury that she's dealing with dating back to the playoffs. They were in the Did she get injured in the finals or the conference finals? I think she got injured in the conference finals. I remember now. She got injured in the conference finals. I forgot what the injury was, but that was pretty significant, and she's still out. So the Lunar Owls, they're already down a player. They're down the woman that was just second in MVP voting last year in the WNBA. So obviously missing her, that's gonna hurt because you were expecting her to play. And then Skylar Diggins Smith, who she was one of the people that got me into watching women's basketball. She's only played 4 games out of the 7, so she's still with injuries herself. So your best player is injured for the season, basically. I don't know if she'll be able to come back this season. She might be out all of this season because that's probably the safest option. Then Skylar Diggins Smith, she's missing multiple games. With her missing 4, now it's like you down to just you still have an extra player due to the injury, but you're still only you have 7. But Nafisa Collier out for the season. Skylar Diggins Smith missed a few games, like I said. But they're giving up a lot of points in these 7 games. Like I said, is that 543? I gotta check something because that doesn't sound right. Okay, that is right. But yeah, they just lost back-to-back games. I forgot who they won against, but they did lose back-to-back games. One of which they lost to the Hive, who are also struggling pretty bad. So it was between them and the Hive for the ice cold team, because whoever lost that game was going to be on here, and it happened to be the Lunar Owls. So they were giving up 543 points, which is the most by any in all 7 games. They were giving up 543 points, the most by any team. It's 2 other teams that gave up 500 plus points. It's the Rolls, who are 4-3. They gave up 509 points, but they outscored their opponents. They're 4-3. And then there was another, the Phantom, no, that's 400. No, and the Hive gave up 523 points, but they just beat the Lunar Owls. So they move up in the standings since they're 2-5 compared to the Lunar Owls being 1-6 and having a 14.3 win percentage, which is also the lowest in the league. And then you got Skylar Diggins Smith. When she is there, she's giving you 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block a game. So she's giving you solid production, but she hasn't been there enough to really build any chemistry with the team. So it's like with her in and out the lineup, it's going to be hard to win games. They have a minus 75 point differential, which ironically isn't the lowest in the league. The Hive have a minus 76 point differential. But like I said, the Hive just beat them. So even though they were struggling badly all season, the battle of 2 evils, the Hive won that game. And then you got Aaliyah Edwards, who's a double-double machine, giving you 22 points and 13 rebounds a game. Marina Mabry, she's giving you 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists per game while shooting 41% from the field. So you got a dynamic duo on Edwards and Mabry with Fee being out, with Skylar Diggins Smith being in and out the lineup. But that's simply not enough because the bench isn't doing anything. The bench is only giving you 10 points per game. And then one of them, I forget who it is, one of them is starting, which isn't, obviously that's a lineup adjustment. So the bench only giving you around, their bench player is only giving you around 10 points per game. And then not stepping up, coming to the starting lineup when they have to. It's like that team is but they're not in desperation mode. It's like, it's not nothing they can really do about it. You got a dynamic duo doing what they can, scoring, rebounding, playmaking. And then, like I said, one of your third best player, really, because Fee is out all season. She's your best player. So that's just something you got to get over. And then Skylar Diggins Smith, she's dealt with injuries this season, only playing 4 games. So it's going to be tough to win. Now, 1-6 is pretty bad. especially considering you have what you got 5 teams in a row that have at least 4 wins. So you got 5 teams that are over 50% win percentage. Then the other 3 teams are all under 30%. The the win are 2-5. The however 2-5, and then the Lunar Owls are 1-6. Shout out to the Mist. The Mist Unrivaled team. They commented on one of my threads that I made about Unrivaled. I think the Mist who they played to win actually. Then they saw my post and they commented on it. So shout out to them for that. So yeah, definitely rocking with Unrivaled, and the social media team is cool. So that was definitely cool. But the Lunar Owls, I don't know how they turned it around. I'm gonna look at their upcoming schedule. Yeah, wait, I'm gonna get it's right there. So they play the Rose. Play the Rose tomorrow. I might be off by that time, so I might be able to watch it. But that might be a loss. Yeah, they got a few. I mean, most of these games is tough when they're a 1-6 team. But yeah, their next game is the Rose. That's their last game of January. But the Lunar House, they do have. I think these games are played on neutral sites. So I don't think it matters who's at home. But the Rose are 4-3. I don't see them dropping that game. I'd be very surprised if they did. But the Lunar Owls, something needs to turn around. Obviously, it can't be Nafisa Collier. It can't be Skylar Diggins Smith. She just got to get healthy and come back when it's the most appropriate. But Aaliyah Edwards and Rita Mabry, they doing their thing. Maybe Aaliyah Edwards got to go even crazier than 22-13. As great as that is, maybe that's not enough. Well, it hasn't been. But the bench also got to step up. But with that being said, we can move into the prediction gauntlet, what y'all are here for. 2026 Royal Rumble predictions taking place in 2 days. I really wish it was a 5th match on the card. It's only 4 matches, which that's not, like, I get it, but you just did 4 matches for Saturday night's main event. You could have put Jade versus Jordan Grace on the card instead of putting Jordan Grace in the Rumble. That was really stupid. Because you could have, Jade's only defense has been on a 5 event. Why not do Jade and Jordan Grace at Royal Rumble? Like, it's simple. Have her first defense to be Jordan Grace, like, cool, have it at Royal Rumble. She might get booed out the building, but she's the heel, so I mean, you just gotta accept it. But that's certainly a choice, putting Jordan Grace in the Royal Rumble. Definitely a choice that doesn't make sense. Then it's only 1 women's match as well. Now the women gonna be hot, but you could have had 2 women's matches, 3 men's matches, since you already got a title match and you got a non-title match where singles matches go. Then, man, I think this can't. I wonder if this can outdo the Rumble from last year. Because I wasn't even a fan of the Rumble from last year, but it was some cool stuff that happened. I think I gave the Rumble a 6 out of 10 overall rating, the whole pay-per-view. But that ladder match was super fun with KO and Kevin Owens. It was just Sami Zayn being out there just didn't make sense if he wasn't going to help his best friend. Like that, I really didn't get that. Then that led to a match. He wrestled through a neck injury. Now he's out. So, man, that whole situation was weird. But speaking of championship matches and Sami Zayn, I predict that one first. Drew and Sami, it makes the most sense for Drew to retain. If Sami won it, I wouldn't be shocked. Also, wouldn't be happy. But that's a good point. It also spoils that. It also spoils that Raquel not winning the Rumble. But why does she injure if she get in the match next week? But back to the Drew and Sami, because I'm gonna do the men's matches. I'm gonna do all 3 men's matches. Then I'm gonna predict the women last. But Drew and Sami, Drew makes the most sense to retain. If Sami won, I wouldn't be surprised. He just won in his hometown of Montreal, and then Saudi Arabia loves him just like his second home now. So if he goes over there, it's like it's not the right move, but it makes sense. Because it's like Sami is gonna be a world champion probably one day. But it's like, is it really worth it to do that at the expense of Drew McIntyre, who fans waited for so long to get this moment? I don't think that makes sense. I said I'm predicting Drew to retain. I wouldn't be shocked if he loses, unfortunately. But I'm predicting him to retain. You just gave him the title. Him walking into WrestleMania as champion is money. He's one of your top heels. Who I said this last week. I think he's in that no order, but Logan Paul, Jade Cargill, and Drew. Actually, them, yeah, that's the order. Logan Paul, Jade Cargill, Drew. They're three of the top heels. You can even put Trick in there. He inserted him so fast. So with those three, those are the top three heels. So you got a top three heel and Drew McIntyre. It's instant money. People now obviously fans love him, but if fans play into the storylines, the story is we want him to lose. We want to see who's the next big baby face. What if Obafemi wins the Rumble, which I haven't got to yet? But let's just hypothetically imagine Drew retains, and then you have a monstrous Obafemi debut. Well, we know he's debuting, and he wins the Royal Rumble, and he debuts on SmackDown as a face, and he goes on to fight Drew McIntyre. Like people are clamoring for that new young star to take the WWE Championship. A guy that's under 30 or close to, yeah, he's under 30, gotta be a guy that's under 30. Like that's money right there, because I'm assuming a face is gonna win the Rumble and take on Drew probably, but Drew has to retain. Sammy winning isn't the decision. It's not the time. Maybe Sammy can get a world title at SummerSlam. I feel like that'd be more appropriate. But even at WrestleMania, I don't see it. Like they already let you main event WrestleMania for the tag titles and beat Gunther. Let him have a SummerSlam moment. He don't need a Rumble moment or another WrestleMania moment. But I'm predicting Drew retains. AJ Styles putting his career on the line versus Gunther. This is a tough one for me. Y'all know what I want. I can't deal with yeah, he's under 30, like I said. I can't deal with an AJ Styles retirement at this point. If he does retire, I do respect that because he didn't want a retirement tour. If he doesn't, if the time is really now, I can respect that. Because at the end of the day, everybody don't need a retirement tour, especially after how they booked Cena's retirement tour. So if he just said, once my contract is up, I'm done, I can respect that because he got a good run. He has a really good 10 years in WWE. Like what's his lowest point? His lowest point, he was still a tag champion with Omos. That's probably his lowest point in WWE, and it was still successful when him and Omos was tag team champions. So that's how great his WWE career has been. But I see AJ Styles winning. I don't see his career ending at Royal Rumble with no build up. Like I don't think he's getting a retirement tour, but it's gonna be some type of build up to him retiring. Like I don't see him getting just a month. I don't see him retiring with WWE, but he could still win. He don't even gotta, because the whole concept of if Gunther wins, AJ's career is over. He can't go to TNA by that logic because Gunther said his career is over. He didn't say WWE career. He said your career. So I don't know why we gotta don't overcomplicate it. Let him win. Then if he decides to go to TNA to finish his career, that's what it is. Like if his contract expires and he just decides he wants to finish his career in TNA, go that route instead of having Gunther win and he just compete in TNA. Because that would defeat the purpose of him ending his career. That wouldn't make sense. No, it would make Gunther look even more weak. Because it's like he didn't really end his career. And it's like you already got Gunther tapping on AJ Styles' butt cheeks. Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, I see AJ Styles winning. I see AJ Styles winning. He don't see Gunther winning, even though it's like, and then AJ Styles' last Raw match ended in DQ. Is his last Raw match really going to be a disqualification? Is that really how his WWE tenure ends? With him fighting? But I don't even think the Raw match needed to happen. I mean, it could have, but without the interference of Finn Balor. But yeah, I don't see his career ending this Saturday for the men's Royal Rumble. Finn Balor, we don't got no spots left. 2 days later, Brock Lesnar called in to the Pat McAfee show. I'm entering the Royal Rumble. They did Finn Balor dirty. They told that nigga, we don't got no spot for you, but that nigga Brock called in and said, I'm entering the Rumble on a Wednesday. So first you got Roman entering via email, then Brock calling in on the Pat McAfee show. Like, nigga, we know they gonna be there. Don't tell us. Just let it happen. But Finn Balor, he gonna take out R-Truth. R-Truth gonna come in at like 23. Finn Balor gonna take him out, and that's how he's gonna get in the Royal Rumble. If not, he could replace Rey Mysterio since he was injured. Since Rey is injured, that also could be a replacement as well. make it simple. But I think to establish him as a heel, if you want to go that route and keep him feuding with CM Punk, have him attack Drew McIntyre, not Drew, R-Truth to enter the Rumble. Maybe he won't win it, but at least you're giving him some type of character, at least something that's entertaining. But I do think Roman not winning it, can Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble? With not W-I-N, W-H-E-N. That's what Jey Uso wants to do in the Royal Rumble. So I don't know if that's possible, but everybody type W-H-E-N in the chat, and let's pray that Jey Uso can win the Royal Rumble. 40-year-old man and can't spell. Okay. But I'm still predicting Gunther to win the Rumble. I think if AJ Styles wins, and because Gunther said he didn't plan on working double duty unless AJ puts his career on the line. So if AJ puts his career on the line and he wins, I don't see AJ being in the Rumble. I don't see it, but I do see Gunther in. Because why have two people working double duty? You don't need multiple people doing that. But I think Gunther makes the most sense business-wise. If you want to establish that top heel, you can establish him as one of the top 5 heels in the company at the moment by having him lose, and then people are they're all happy and jolly. Then seeing him enter the Royal Rumble and win it from let's just say number 5. He come in there early. He lasts a long time. Then he win. That would just make people more upset. So I would pull that if I'm WWE. I think that's the smart move. I think it's the best business decision. And it makes the most sense. Some of these are too obvious. Like Roman. Roman, we know he'll go after Drew. Why would he go after the title he called the B title? That wouldn't make sense. Roman, that'd be too obvious. Brock, nobody would want that. Braun Breaker might win Elimination Chamber. I don't see, with all the vision in the Royal Rumble, I don't see him winning. And that never goes well. I know Jey Uso gonna be in it. If WWE is smart to elevate that feud with the Usos and Alpha Academy, have Tozawa eliminate Jey Uso because the Usos aren't taking them serious. So have Tozawa shock Jey Uso by eliminating him and let him last 7-8 minutes in the Rumble before, I don't know, Brock Lesnar throw him out. Because Brock Lesnar, he dominant. So if a guy take a bump from Brock Lesnar, it's he don't look weak. Brock Lesnar could dominate anybody. So do something like that. Yeah, Rey Mysterio was cooked. Unfortunately, I said it last pod. He needed to retire. I don't want to beg people to retire, but it happened last year as well when he was supposed to work the AAA event late last year. Then he got injured. Well, it was middle of last year. It's you getting old. It's clear as day. But yeah, I do have Gunther for the men's Royal Rumble. I think he loses the match versus AJ, but I do think he wins the Royal Rumble. Now for the women, this one's super unpredictable for me. Because it's a few different ways they could go with this. Because they didn't build some stuff. It's we know Raquel is not winning. You gave her a match next Monday, so she's not winning. She might be an early elimination. We know it's not going to be Jordan Grace because she just isn't physical. Jordan Grace is off the roids now. If Jordan Grace was still on the roids, I could see it. But she off the roids now, so I don't see her winning it. Actually, it come down to 3 women for me. If Tiffany Stratton, I could see her coming back and winning it and going after Stephanie. Liv will make sense since Raquel has the match on Monday, but I'm predicting Bianca to win it. I predict she comes back. We talked about this on the last debate. I see her coming back and winning the Rumble, going after Jade Cargill. Jade and Jordan Grace can have a match still on a SmackDown or even Elimination Chamber. I prefer a SmackDown because I don't want to keep waiting for her to defend the title. But Bianca could come back, go after Jade because she wants the championship. We'll figure out the story when we get there, but I definitely see Bianca winning the Women's Royal Rumble. And she will be just the second woman to win it twice. It will be her and Charlotte. So putting her in that same category as Charlotte really establishes her even more as one of the all-time greats, even early into her career, because she's only been on the main roster for 5 years now? Well, 6, maybe 5.5. Because I know she debuted in 2020, but I forget what month. But it's been 5 to 6 years, and they got to establish these new stars. This can establish Bianca as an all-time great. She's already a star. But to further her as an all-time great, her and Charlotte will be the only 2 women to have 2 Rumble wins. So I'm predicting Bianca to win it. And still, you said you'll be ranting if Tiffany wins. Well, think about it. The goal is to build the next new star in the division. So if they build the next new star by having Tiffany, like she already had a long reign. If she wins but goes after the Raw Women's title, the one that Stephanie has, that'll tell for a different story. It'll be a fresh matchup. It'll be something different. Whether she wins or loses, I don't think it matters. It's the goal is we establishing these new stars. Maybe Tiffany can get this moment and win the Rumble. Maybe Lyra lasts as like an Iron Woman in the match. I feel like that's the goal for this women's Rumble because I think it comes down to Bianca, Liv, or Tiffany. But the other women, they're gonna be used to establish some stories. We're gonna get further progression with the women because we don't know as much. Like we know a lot of the men. We know a few of the women as well. But I think the women's one is gonna be a lot more story based. The men's one is just gonna be for the love of the game. Like I don't see much coming out of the men's one. We might get some stuff. It's gonna be some like both Rumbles gonna tell us some stuff, but the women, I think it's gonna tell us some stuff for the future. Like Lyra might be an Iron Woman. That'd be super dope to see. Roxanne might last to a minute in there as well. Maybe Roxanne eliminates Liv by accident. Like they're gonna do something with the Judgment Day. They might all be in there at the same time. Oprah Femi might be the Iron Man for the men, being there from like number 7 to 28. It is different though. It's the other world title. It's not the same world title. And if Stephanie retains versus Raquel, she needs something else. She needs a new challenger because she would already beat Nikki Bella, would already beat Raquel, who she's been feuding with. So if Tiffany go to SmackDown, that's a fresh new matchup. Yes, the world title, but the women's championship still feels more important. Even though it's not being defended, I feel like that one is still the more important title. But yeah, they got to feature other women, and if they want to keep, like, look at how they using Gunther. He's already been a 2-time world champion. So if Tiffany was a 2-time world champion, but she won both titles, I would accept that more than I accepted Gunther winning the world heavyweight championship twice. Because at least she went after a different title and it's a different story. She could tell if she did win it. You could do Tiffany and Liv, Tiffany and Roxanne, maybe even a triple threat match. You could revisit Tiffany and Becky once she drops that IC title. I guess some stuff they could do with that. And Asuka, I think Asuka gonna do something with Becky. I don't know. Asuka and Becky definitely gonna have some type of interaction. I could see Natalia and Becky might do something in the Rumble. They're gonna build some stuff for the women's IC division too. I could see that because they did tease Asuka and Becky Lynch, so that's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that. But yeah, for the Rumble, I got Drew retaining. I don't see Sammy winning would be a terrible choice. I got AJ winning his match versus Gunther, but I have Gunther winning the Royal Rumble. He can come in like 5 or 6 and win from there, make the fans upset, even though starting on a high note, but it's going to end with them upset, assuming that's the main event. So I would do that. Then for the women, I got Bianca winning. I don't see a world where she doesn't. Like I said, it's either her or Liv. Tiffany wouldn't be shocking, but that's only if she goes to Raw or to do like a trade or something. If she goes after Jade, that would be a problem. But if she goes after Stephanie for the Raw title, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But those are my predictions for the Royal Rumble. Wish Jade versus Jordan Grace was a match, but Jordan Grace is in the Rumble for whatever reason. Let's move on to the Impact stat of the week. Sydney Hilly for the Omaha Supernovas, who are currently 4th in the MLV standings, Major League Volleyball. They're 4th in the standings. Slow start for Omaha. I would expect them to be better this into the season at this point. Well, 3 or 4 weeks in already. But the Impact stat, she's leading the MLV in assists with 284 assists. She's one of 3 players with 200 plus assists. And she has 48 more assists than the person in second place. So Sydney Hillies did a phenomenal job setting up her teammates. Like I said, they're 6 games in. They played the most games in the MLV. They're 4th in the standings, 3-3. So they did go 1-1 this past week. But she's been doing Yeah, I think they went 1-1 because they were 2-2, I think. But yeah, Sydney Hilly, she's been doing her thing, done a really good job setting up her teammates while also averaging 11.36 assists per set, which is leading the league. And once again, one of three players in that category. So that is absolutely amazing what she's been able to do for Omaha. Obviously, with a player that talented, you would expect them to be a bit better than just 3-3, 6 games into the season. But it's a 28-game season. They got plenty of time to pick it up. It's been a lot of moving pieces and a lot of stuff changed within the MLV. Like the Indy Ignite started 1-0. No, they started 3-0. Then they just dropped the game they lost to the Dallas Post, who started the season 1-1, but they won back-to-back games. Now they at the top of the league. No, they didn't drop to the Dallas Post. The Dallas Post lost to Indy, and Indy lost to somebody. But Indy had stopped Orlando's 3-game streak. They were 3-0. Now Orlando is 3-2 on the season. So it's been a fun year for the MLB, especially the start of it, because really anything can happen. But Omaha, they did go 1-1 this week because I do have one of their other players nominated for athlete of the week. But I'll get into that in a few. But yeah, Cindy Hilly, she's just done a really good job setting up her teammates. So that 284 assists, that stuck out to me because she's so far ahead of everybody else. Like obviously with the games played, it's going to help that as well. But averaging 11.3 assists per set is also insane. That's one thing that doesn't go into the games played. But yeah, the teams have played between 4 to 6 games, but 11.3 assists per set is insane because most times the league leader is about 10 assists per game by the end of the season. And she's one of 3 players in that category, but she's averaging 11.36. I think the closest was 11.06. So what she's doing has been great. It's not going to stand out as much because she's not getting the most points or the most kills, but she's setting up her team as she gets that other stuff. And I think Omaha, if they pick things up, like I said, they're 3-3, they're 4th in the standings, so they will be in the playoffs with things if the season ended today. But they got plenty of time. They got 22 more games left in the season for them to pick it up, and I do think they can. And when we're playing like this, I don't see a world where they don't pick it up and continue to play even better throughout the season. But yeah, 284 assists, 11.36 assists per set. But not too much to talk about for the impact stat this week. But that's definitely something that stuck out to me when I was looking at some of the stats for the MLB. And I think I seen both of their games last week, I think. Yeah, because they had both games on YouTube. So I did, last week all the games were on YouTube. So I was able to see all of them. And so that was dope. But moving on to athletes of the week. Last segment for the day. Sticking with the MLB since I just mentioned it. I went with Brooke Nunaviller from the Omaha Supernovas. So same team as Sydney Hilly. The Supernovas, like I said, went 1-1 this week. Brooke Nunaviller in those games, she had a total of 38 kills, 70 total attacks, 19 digs, 41 points, and 4 assists. Brooke Nunaviller, you're not relying on to get a lot of assists because she's the one that's getting the kills, getting the digs, and putting the team in position to score. And she was one of the top players last year. She was in the MVP race last season. I think she finished second behind Brittany Abercrombie, who won it. But Brooke Nunaviller, great week. Like I said, Omaha only went 1-1 this week, but that's usually the teams usually play 2 games in a week, and not like I said. It's been a lot of parity in the MLB this season, so it's going to be exciting to see how the rest of the season plays out. For the NHL, I'm with Tage Thomas. The Sabres, who are currently on a 4-game winning streak, went 3-0 this week, and Tage Thomason, he had 2 goals and 2 assists, had a total of 4 points. Now these wins were dominant that he didn't have to play as much as he usually does. But the Sabres' great season continues. And Tage Thompson is doing his thing. Had a great week, made a great impact. Wasn't the most points or wasn't the most goals or assists. No, but he had a really great impact and helped his team get 3 wins this week. For the NFL, I got to go with Sam Darnold. I can't say nothing negative about him. He went 25 of 36, had 364 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the Seahawks beat the Rams 31-27 to go to the Super Bowl. So the most important game of his career, and he delivered. over 300 passing yards, didn't have that many incompletions, had 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over, played a great game. And neither team scored in the fourth quarter, so you can't even mention that. They won 31-27. He put them in position to win. The defense did what they needed to in the fourth quarter. The Seahawks get the job done. They advance to the Super Bowl. For the NBA, I went with Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers went 3-0 this week. Kawhi had 20-plus point games. No, he had three. All 3 games, he had 20-plus points while also playing awesome defense. He was on the plant 5 that I do on my Instagram. So I had to put him. So defensively, he's been doing his thing. The offense has been there. He only got to give you 23, 25. He only got to give you 30. So he's going to make an impact. He's just a winning player, and he's been able to do that. The Clippers have been one of the hottest teams in the league over the last month. They've been 15-3 in their last 18. I forget what they played last night. I don't remember. But I know before this, over their last 18, they went 15-3. So amazing turnaround, got them to the 10th seed in the West. For men's college basketball, went with Keyshawn Hall. Auburn had a 2-0 week. In a game versus Florida, he had 24 points, 2 steals, a block, 4 assists, and 7 rebounds while shooting 8 of 17 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3 and 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Then in the win versus it was versus Texas, I think. Against Texas last night. Keyshawn Hall, he had 31 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 7 of 13 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, and he got to the line 17 times. He shot 14 of 17 from the free throw line. So he's really been able to get downhill and get a lot of free throws. Like that's an art. A lot of people look at it as foul baiting, but being able to get to the line and get free throws, like going from 6 free throws in one game to 17, it's like 6 is still a good number. Like you're getting downhill, you're getting free throws. Like you're taking 17 shots, you should get to the free throw line a few times, and he was able to do that. Then he got to the lines obviously it's 2 free throws most of the time per possession, but getting to the line and getting for 17 free throws and making 14 of them, putting his team in position to score. And Auburn was down in that game versus Texas. The first half, they got down by a little bit, so they had to come back. Then it was him and number 1 on Auburn that they led the comeback in the second half. So they started heating up. In that game versus Texas, he only had 6 points in the first half. He had a 25-point second half, and that was more than he scored in this last game versus Florida, where he just had 24 points the entire game. So Keyshawn Hall, he did his thing this week. For unrivaled, I went with Natisha Heidemann. She had an 11-point game and 2 assists versus the Lacers, and then versus the Lunar Owl, she had 20 points and 3 rebounds. And the Hive went 1-1, and she came off the bench for a total of 11 of 23 from the field in those 2 games, and 5 of 11 from 3. And only got 2 free throws, but she did make both of them. For women's college basketball, I went with Sarah Strong. The UConn went 3-0 this past week. Then Sarah Strong had 2 25-point outings. She had 5 rebounds and 1 block. She had at least 5 rebounds and 1 block in every game they played this previous week. Had a total of 9 steals in those 3 games. Had 2 5-assist games and shot 50% or better from the field in all 3 games, while also going 9-9 from the free throw line. And UConn is now 22-0 in the season and remains number 1 in the nation. They then in their last game, it's the greatest Sarah Strong was. They had a girl come off the bench for their team and get them 31 points. So this UConn team has been unstoppable. And March Madness coming up soon. I don't know if this team is going to lose a game this year. But Sarah Strong, she did her thing. Now to WWE, I went with Jada Parker for this week. She just came back recently. And she won her return match versus Nikita Lyons, which was a solid match. It wasn't super long, but it was solid. And she got a new finisher. She kept the hypnotic, which I said she should. Just keep it as a signature and get a new finisher. It's like an off-brand version of the Riptide. I've seen somebody call it a Rip No Tide, but we're going to let it rock for now. Maybe it's just because Nikita Lyons is bigger than Jada Parker, why it was harder to pull off. But I think she still did it. It still looked solid when she did it. But I got to see how it looks when she do it on a smaller person. Like if she do it on an Izzy Dame, like will it be the same? So, or will it be more effective if she do it on an Izzy Dame? But Jada Parker won her return match. Glad to see her back. And the feud with Blake Monroe, definitely something I'm looking forward to. For TNA, I went with Eddie Edwards. He was the catalyst for the system heel turn last week when they turned on Moose and JDC to everybody's surprise. Definitely wasn't expecting that ending, and that was a great ending. That's a great way to close out the show. There was a lot of rave reviews about TNA on AMC debut, which I didn't think was that bad, but people got different opinions. But that was a great way to close last week's show. A shocking moment. I fell asleep on it, so I had to wake up the following morning and watch it. But here's what it is. And then to close us out for AEW, since I started with AEW, I'm going to end with AEW. Athlete of the Week, I went with Andrade. On Collision last Saturday, he went against CMLL, one of their top stars. Mangus got a win against him. A terrible name, but it was a solid match. Andrade looked good, and they're building him, putting him in the world title picture. Then Andrade last night on Dynamite defeated Swerve in a really good main event. And he was also smart. He pulled Aubrey Edwards to a degree, to an angle where he could low blow Swerve. And it wasn't nothing egregious, like he was choking or nothing. It was just like grabbing her shirt. And then that distracted Aubrey Edwards, allowed him to get the win. And he goes on to face Kenny Omega next week. Whoever wins gets MJF at Grand Slam. But so I got to go with Andrade for Athlete of the Week for AEW. Two great matches from Collision last Saturday to Dynamite this Saturday. Dynamite last night. I like what Tony Khan is doing with Andrade. He's being booked really well. But with that being said, this is going to conclude today's podcast episode. Yeah, come like, share, comment, subscribe, and share so other people can see it as well, so they can watch the replay of this live. And yeah, anything that I'm finna end it. So if anything you think about, just DM me or leave it in the comments. Let me know what y'all thought of Royal Rumble predictions. Definitely, if you're seeing the replay, definitely leave Royal Rumble predictions in the comments. But yeah, once again, like, comment, subscribe, and share for others. And I'll be back with a new video tomorrow.